Halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we cook through a Friday here on The Game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach. You can also check us out at 1075 The Game. You just download the app, whether you have Android, Apple, whatever, doesn't matter. You can get the app. Also watch us streaming live on The Game TV. You just go at The Game TV radio on, what is that thing called? YouTube. Also, you can pop to a bunch of different platforms and watch us as we sit here and just yap. And again, we appreciate that. You can go to 1075 The Game, the website pops it as well. You can watch the live stream. All right, obviously we have, it's the end of the year and it's exciting because you have bowl games, college football playoff, NFL, all these things going on. But obviously we, also have heavy hearts here because of the loss of our buddy Gamecock Larry. And our phone lines are popped open finally. So obviously social media, our texting, if you have any thoughts on Gamecock Larry, feel free to share them with us as we roll through a Friday. And yes, obviously we feel the loss, and all Gamecock fans do, because Larry, like I said, is one of one, and we will deeply miss him here on The Game. So we have a college football playoff that will get started tonight, and it's a home game for Notre Dame. Yes, we get these on campus, which is very cool. Notre Dame, Indiana will go at it tonight. I think Notre Dame wins. Now, there's always this thing. Whenever, we're sitting here yapping this show, I'll always tell you who I think will win, and I'll tell you who I'm rooting for. Because I think you can be objective in how you pick a game, but then you can also say, here's what I'm rooting for, though. And it's not out of hate, because, again, I don't do the hating thing anymore on games, because I used to be a crazy fan. I was a nutcase like nobody's business. So through therapy and rehab and meditation, my heavily medicated self as well, medicated with Maker's Mark recently. I don't hate. I don't do the hating thing. But there are teams I enjoy watching lose, but I don't have hate anymore. I stopped that. I just drove myself crazy and broke stuff. That wasn't fun. So, am I a big fan of Notre Dame? No, I'm not. I'm not. I've been Notre Damed out. It's been a long time, and it's ironic. When I was a little kid, they had the Notre Dame highlights on the weekends. Lindsey Nelson did the highlight packages for Notre Dame football. It's like a half hour, I think it was, the show, and basically it was a condensed version of a Notre Dame game. And at that point, I liked them. I was a kid. I was like, well, he's cool. These jerseys are really cool. Ooh, Notre Dame. But as I got older and I just got OD'd on Notre Dame, they got NBC. It felt like they had every advantage in the world. And I've always been a guy that have kind of rooted for the underdog. So I just started to really, when I was still a crazy fan, had a deep hate for Notre Dame. Always loved seeing Notre Dame lose. But now, whatever. Do I like to see that? Am I entertained by their losses now? Sure. But I don't hate them and all the other mess. But I am going to be rooting for Indiana tonight. One, because, I like seeing Notre Dame lose. And two, Indiana's a great story. They are. I mean, again, their record gets them in the college football playoff. That, and even though they played a ridiculously weak schedule, the teams they played on that ridiculously weak schedule, they beat the snot out of all of them. So Indiana got into the field. But it's a great story. 16 transfers who started. Only 3 or 4 leftover Hoosier players from last year got any kind of real meaningful run all year. Kurt Signetti came in from James Madison. He's not some young, fancy hotshot former coordinator. He's a dude that has paid his dues. Came up the hard way. Came up for his ability, not who he knew or whose buddy kissed or who he was related to. And I massively respect that hustle. So I like Signetti. I like the story of Indiana. The fact that people are talking, in the state of Indiana, people are talking about the University of Indiana's team. I think that's hilarious to me. Hilarious. So I'm totally on board rooting for Indiana tonight, but I think Notre Dame wins. And I hope I'm wrong. Is there a road for Indiana to win? Sure. This is one of those a movable object versus a movable object games. Notre Dame runs the ball really well. That's their calling card on offense. Indiana stops the run really well. Indiana also sacks quarterbacks at a pretty high rate. Notre Dame is not explosive in the passing game at all. More efficient than explosive. Riley Leonard has gotten better as the year has gone along, but he's not hitting big plays down the field in the passing game. Indiana can throw it. They're efficient running it. Notre Dame's defense is really good. So it's one of these, who will bend or who will break? My gut tells me Notre Dame in the second half will eventually start getting over in the run game on Indiana. Hoosiers, in the games where they played the best opponents, Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana played well in the first half and kind of lost air in the second half. Got totally rolled by Ohio State in the second half and held on for dear life against Michigan in the second half. So I feel like Notre Dame, as this game rolls on, will wear down Indiana's run defense, and eventually they'll make enough plays to win the game. I think it can be close, but I think Notre Dame wins at home over Indiana tonight. But I'm rooting. Go Hoosiers, baby. Go Hoosiers. I would love to see Coach Sig and Indiana move on and knock Notre Dame out right in front of touchdown Jesus. That would be cool. But I believe, if you ask me to pick it, I think Notre Dame wins. But that game's going to be fun. It's fun to see Indiana in the college football playoff. I mean, look, it's fun to see them there, too. They deserve to be there because of that weak schedule, and they really didn't beat anybody. Their best win was Michigan. And let's face it, I mean, Michigan beat Ohio State, but Michigan has bought a permanent space in Ohio State's head. Yeah, they live there. It's really cool. They got a nice deck, sweet basement, little man cave. They have built a really, really nice dwelling in Ohio State's head. But the rest of the games Michigan played this past year were So that Indiana win over the Wolverines isn't really that impressive. Just being real. The Ohio State game, Indiana hung out for 30 minutes and then it all caved in the second half. Really near the end of the first half, and then the second half it just kept going. So Indiana's resume isn't great, but again, it goes back to the fact they only lost one game all year, and the teams they were supposed to beat, they pulverized. But it's a fun story. It's good to see a little blood in this 12-team thing. Look, would we like to see South Carolina there? Of course. If you can't get the Gamecocks, it is fun to see, a Boise State and an Indiana running around in this thing. But I think Notre Dame ends Indiana's run tonight. That's my guess. We've talked about old Coach Freeman at Notre Dame, and I said, look, he's done better than I thought he was going to do. I just thought he was a recruiter, and, people thought he was hot looking. Sort of like that Cliff Kingsbury stuff. But I'm wrong. Freeman, I'm wrong right now this year. I don't know what kind of staying power it'll have moving forward, but this year, Freeman's done a nice job. After that loss to Northern Illinois early in the year, you're like, Notre Dame's done. But they rolled the rest of their schedule. Again, not a murderer's row. Their best wins were Army and Navy and Texas A&M. But still, Notre Dame only lost one game. And if Notre Dame goes through the year only losing one game, guess who's in the college football playoff? Notre Dame. So I believe they will get the W tonight, even though I'll be putting on my Indiana sweatshirt. If I had one, I'd wear an Indiana sweatshirt. This playoff is going to be fun. I mean, I like the fact that these games are on campus. We'll get a James Franklin cut. Well, where's this James Franklin cut? I think I'll just do this baby right now. James Franklin whining. That kind of feels like what James Franklin does. Here's James Franklin talking about the home field advantage, playing the game, in Happy Valley, but it really not being a home field advantage?
I think obviously it's in Beaver Stadium, but it's one of the things I think is really important is the students. Our students make a huge difference for us, and obviously being after finals and things like that makes it a little bit challenging. So that's a little bit of a concern. And then obviously it's a home game for us, but to your point, the college football playoff pretty much runs everything else. So it will not feel like it normally feels to us playing a home game in Beaver Stadium, but overall in general, obviously we're glad and fortunate to be home. So we'll take it. This is the structure that exists, and we're going to embrace it and move forward.
Wow. This guy. He's already thrown his excuse out if he gets beat by SMU. Well, it's not really a home game. I mean, we can't do the whiteout, and, it's not really a home game because, you should be saying this if you're James Franklin. Oh, we don't care. We're excited, man. We're in the college football playoff. The game's in-state college. Let's roll. Let's go, baby. Chest bump me, reporter. What he really should be saying, if we could put some Fokker truth serum in him, hey, I'm just happy I finally made the college football playoff. I can't win a big game to save my life. I've been stealing money for years. If you look at the expectation here at Penn State, I can't beat Michigan. I can't beat Ohio State. Hell, I can't beat a top 5 team to save my life. We're in the college football playoff. I'll probably ask for a contract extension or have my agent float out more rumors I'm going to the NFL. James Franklin, whatever. We'll talk more about the games coming up this weekend in the college football playoff as we move forward here on the show. And it is a home game, even though, yes, the college football playoff is controlling it. I think that's stupid. Let a home game be a home game. Don't try to sterilize it. Don't try to make it even. It's not even. If you get a home game, you get a home game. With all of your drunk crowd and your tailgaters and all your, freaks that typically make your home game exciting and makes it a difficult place to win, the higher-seeded team should be able to treat it like a home game. 98% of it. If you got a little 2% because it's college football playoff, whatever. It should be a home game for the home team. Don't try to sterilize it like the NCAA does for, the college basketball tournament, which I get that. But this is not the college basketball tournament. Home team should be given almost the entire home game experience that you would be used to. All right, we will check what's going on with Carolina and the transfer portal, get you caught up with any news and notes there. And there is a player who declared for the NFL draft. If you have not heard, we'll get into that next as well. It is the halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we run till 3 here on the game. All right, so while we were, in break, Dreamy Josh comes in. Reminds me we have a lot of tickets to give away because the phones have been down for 2 days. Don't blame us. We had nothing to do with it. I won't say who. Vonage! 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 Vonage fault. It's something. Man. Sorry about that. But yeah, phones have been down for a couple days. So we haven't been able to give away tickets. So now we got boatloads of tickets to give away. And we'll be doing that. And again, I'm hanging here kind of punching all the buttons myself today. So we will be giving away tickets, and you just have to be patient for a minute while I turn everything down and off and all that, and then run over and grab the phone. We'll do that here in just a little bit. Your chance to snag some tickets for the Radford game this weekend. We'll be doing that rest of the day. We have like 9 pair to give away today. So there'll be a lot. Be ready. Work the fingers, stretch them properly, move them around, get them warm. We'll be doing that all day long. We'll have 9 pair between now and 6 p.m. here on the game. All right, transfer portal. First of all, as of this morning, according to Gamecock Central, the Gamecocks ranked number 12 in 0-3's 2025 transfer portal rankings, which is good. Absolutely. And it's just one of those things where I know fans, and look, it's typically a minority in these situations, but their fans are saying, what's up with South Carolina? They've had some, visits that haven't happened, or guys, we're going to come in, and things of that nature. And I guess I look at it this way. While, and look, no problem asking those questions. I agree you should ask those questions, like what's up with that? But, a lot of times I compare this to, I remember Ozzie Newsome, who was the general manager of the Ravens, always called it right player, right price. And I hear baseball execs also use that right player, right price because baseball has no salary cap. Right player, right price is you deem a value to a player. And as long as that player stays in that range of value dollar-wise, then you're in the running for that player. If it goes over the value of what you think you should pay for that player because you got X amount of money and you're looking for X amount of quality of players, you don't want to overpay. You just don't. And in some of these instances, there could be guys like Josiah Trotter, who South Carolina really wanted, the linebacker from West Virginia, who ended up going to Missouri. It's just, okay, how high is the price? Okay, that's too high. And that's the evaluations you have to make. Now, again, you want to be right, because if you miss it and don't evaluate correctly, and you're losing really good players because you didn't want to give them X amount because you didn't evaluate them correctly, that's going to be a problem. We saw last year coming through the portal with South Carolina. A really good portal run for the Gamecocks last year. Now, obviously, you want to try to do that again. Duh. But it's just the idea you're looking at X amount of money, because remember, you also have to pay your own guys to keep them from running off in the portal and going to somebody else who wants to give them money. It's not just simple as, okay, let's bring in some dudes from the portal and just start making it rain, baby. Woo, woo. No. You got to also, keep your own guys. And you've seen these stories, these posts by a Gamecock Central and others where, a player just agreed to a new deal through Garnet Trust. Again, that's transfer portal money to keep someone. Whether you're paying Dylan Stewart, paying Lenore Sellers. By the way, he got a cool little NIL deal with Cheez-Its. But you got to keep your own guys. So you got to balance the books on, okay, we got to keep our own guys, we got to go get other guys. And look, South Carolina's NIL is solid and it's getting better. It might not be Texas. It's getting better. Texas Tech just started. They really upped their NIL game. I don't know if it's to be the extent of how Ole Miss upped theirs with the Grove Collective, but Texas Tech, all of a sudden, they got money to burn. They do. It's like my daughter goes to University of Colorado. She also works a side hustle job for, one of those senior communities where you have nursing home, assisted living, apartments, all that stuff. And they give Christmas bonuses every year. And it was funny. And she calls me, Dad, like, what? Got my Christmas bonus. Oh, cool. That's nice. You got a couple $100. She's like, Dad. I'm like, what? I got $1,800. Take a job with you. $1,800 more than I got. But that's like Texas Tech. They got a Christmas bonus for $1,800. And by the way, my daughter, that was 2 days ago. Right now, she probably, of that $1,800, she probably has 18 left. But that's kind of what happened to Texas Tech. They got dough, man. So they're in. And they're going to spend more. Look, Ohio State spent a ton of money. Was it $20 million? And yes, they're in the college football playoff, but it might be the most angry crew of fans whose team made the college football playoff. I mean, there are teams that spend a lot of money. Ole Miss. Look how much money Ole Miss spent. Who are they playing in the college football playoff again? Oh, yeah, that's right. So there's no guarantee. I am equating this to Major League Baseball because, again, Major League Baseball has no salary cap. Major League Baseball will never be a level playing field, just like college football and college basketball will never be level, ever. There are teams with big payrolls who do well, and there are teams with big payrolls who suck. Because it's still how you evaluate and how you spend your money. And if you're just throwing money all over the place to sign people to throw money around, that doesn't mean you're putting together a cohesive unit that's going to go out and win you games. Culture matters. I know. Terry, you say that all the time. Please. It does. If you just bring in a bunch of guys playing for the back of their jersey, that can bite you. But if you bring in guys who, yes, they're there to enhance themselves, but also to help you win, that's the sweet spot. South Carolina crushed that. With Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight, Rocket Sanders, just to name a few. Torricelli, Simpkins, the wide receiver group. They nailed it in the portal. They brought in a bunch of guys. Yes, those guys were about, themselves, whether it was to improve theirself in the NIL space, showcase their skills at another school for maybe the NFL draft. But they also were here to win and be part of a winning culture and be leaders that helped you win. That's what you're looking for. And there's a long way to go here. If you didn't catch this yesterday, Andrew Jones, linebacker from Grambling, has committed to South Carolina, a tackling machine last year. He was the Co-SWAC Player of the Year. Again, a guy that has to, yes, you've got to take your game up a few levels to go from the SWAC to the SEC, but Jones is athletic, sideline to sideline guy, and you hope that once he gets, gets himself acclimated to the SEC, he's going to be a difference maker like a Demetrius Knight was last year. Transfer portal updates real quick about who's coming in, who's not coming in, what's going on. Confirmed visits. Today's the 20th, right? Miles Norwood from Ball State supposed to be in. Justice Haynes from Alabama, the top running back in the portal, was in South Carolina yesterday for his visit. Rodney Newsom, Western Kentucky offensive lineman, should be in this weekend. TJ Searcy, edge from Florida, also should be in this weekend. Omega Blake will not be in, the former Gamecock wide receiver who went off, made some big plays at Charlotte last year. Again, right player, right price. Didn't match up, so Omega Blake will not be in. Horatio Fields, Wake Forest, also looks like he will not be in either. But South Carolina still looking at wide receivers. Nothing new yet on KC Concepcion. That's still in a holding pattern. That's the latest coming out of the portal for South Carolina. All right, in case you just woke up, what happened in the world of sports? You're just like, man, I haven't even looked at my phone. What's up? We'll tell you that coming up on the halftime show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we roll till 3 here on the game.
So Dicker, 3 years now, solving Charger kicking woes for several years prior to that. Can he bang it through? On its way, it is. Yep.
Made history tonight.
Yes. There you go.
There you go. It was interesting last night. Chargers and Broncos in that game. History was made. Chargers won 34-27. But in this game, Cameron Dicker, the kicker for the LA Chargers, making the first successful fair catch kick in the NFL in almost 50 years from 57 yards. It was craziness. It's a really obscure, weird rule, and of course I knew it. You're right. I had no clue. Look, hats off to the Charger coaching staff, whether it was Jim Harbaugh, the special teams coach, whoever knew of this, or whoever remembered this. A huge heads up. Harbaugh's getting the love for it. So it's a very obscure rule. Basically, if you saw the highlight, Chargers are looking to field a punt. There is interference with the punt returner. Clear and obvious interference with the punt returner. So the flag gets thrown, and about the 43-yard line is where you would set up for the kick. There's no one that tries to block the kick. It's a seldom used rule that allows a team that's just made a fair catch to try a free kick for 3 points. The kick is attempted from the line of scrimmage, and all the defenders must stand 10 yards away. The reason it doesn't happen very much is because you almost ever find a team to try that kick because, like a lot of times, you aren't going to be close enough or the circumstance doesn't work to where you're even going to do this. Like, very coaching staff that picked that up. So good for the Chargers there, and it did help. Chargers come back from being down 24-6 and get the win over the Broncos. A 21-point second half. Chargers outscored the Broncos 21-6 in the second half. Justin Herbert had himself a day. He went 23 of 31, 284, couple of touchdowns, did throw in a pick. But Herbert, for a while, hadn't missed a pass. But had a really nice game. Ladd McConkey, who's had an excellent rookie season, the wide receiver from Georgia, also had another nice night. Bo Nix, now again, Denver does not ask Bo Nix to throw the ball down the field a whole lot because Sean Payton has built an offense around Bo Nix's skill set, which is to throw quick, short passes, and for Nix to use his legs. And look, Nix has gotten better every week, to his credit. Payton has schemed him up to his strengths, and Denver's going to most likely make the playoffs. The key will be moving forward if Bo Nix can get to the point where he can throw the ball down the field more and be more accurate. He only threw one ball over 20 yards last night. Eventually, you got to be able to stretch the defense, not only vertically, but horizontally. Not only horizontally, but vertically. And Nix isn't quite there. He was pretty accurate in the 10 to 19-yard range, but again, he only threw 5 balls. He dropped back 44 times last night, only threw 6 passes over 10 yards. At some point, that's got to get better. But what Bo Nix can do right now, his strength, is working out really well for the Broncos. And a credit to Sean Payton for building the offense around what Nix can do right now. And Nix was efficient, 29 of 40, 263, a couple scores. But the Chargers really got it going in the second half. Ran the ball efficiently. Herbert was good. And LA 9-6 looks like they'll be in the playoffs as well in the AFC. Man, what a difference coaching can make. Huh? What a difference. The Chargers have a real head coach now. And look at them. They're 9-6. And no more of these foo bars at the end of games that the Chargers were famous for in, the last 5-6 years. No more stupid decisions by a head coach. No more melting down with big leads. They're a real football team with a real head coach. All those things that were so Charger, they're not doing anymore. Wonder why. Well, we say we want about Jim Harbaugh. Is he a goof? Yes. Is he a goober? Absolutely. Is he kind of a kook? Yes. Were they looking at the NCAA with both middle fingers at Michigan? Uh-huh. Yeah, they were. But Jim Harbaugh, there's no one in my lifetime I've watched to be able to coach at such a high level in both college and the NFL. Most guys can do one, can't do the other. Jim Harbaugh he's just a dude. You know, you hear the stories about players who are coached by Jim Harbaugh, and you understand why he's so good. Because he truly loves what he's doing. He's passionate about it. He cares about the players. He holds them accountable, and he has expectation, but he's also there to make them as good as they can be, and they feel it. And he's just a hell of a coach. He's turned this Charger thing around in year one. They still don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver. Offensive line is getting better. Defensively, they're good, but they've had some injuries. As long as Jim Harbaugh can save the offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, from himself, Chargers are only going to get better as the years go along. Just a heck of a job by Jim Harbaugh. And remember, nobody wanted to hire him in the NFL, or few did, because, he's not what these new age general managers in the NFL want. I want collaboration. I want synergy. I want us to be bros, Facebook friends, Instagram buddies. We'll TikTok together. We'll have lunches. We'll walk on the beach hand in hand. Who cares, man? Just win me games. I don't have to like you. You don't have to like me. Does it make the work environment better when we're all chummy? Sure. I don't have to like you. You have to like me. We're here for one purpose: to post and stack W's. And hopefully that will lead us to hoisting a trophy. And if when the day ends, you go your way and I go mine, and we really don't communicate until the next day, or if we are communicating, it's purely business. And I'm not saying, dude, you know what I'm binging? You know what I'm binging on Netflix? Who cares? Harbaugh's the guy, you hire him and you get out of his way. A lot of these GMs and upper management folks and owners, they can't do that. They want to justify themselves, right? But the best justification of yourself as a GM? Hire Jim Harbaugh and get out of the way. Just move out of the way and let him do his thing. And Harbaugh was hired with the Rams, and he's got pretty much control of the ship. And that's okay. If you're in the front office, it's all right, because this guy's going to make you look good. One of the things that I always just shake my head about because of ego is how people just won't hire folks and get out of their way and let them flourish. Because if they're flourishing and they're successful, guess who looks good? This guy right here. So let them flourish and get the bleep out of their way. And that makes you look good because you hired them and you're letting them do the job you hired them for. It's very simple. That's what you do with a Jim Harbaugh. You hire him and everybody get out of the way. Obviously, you're going to work with him as you do in a front office capacity, but just let this guy cook. That's what you got to do. And he's cooking with the Chargers, to his credit. To his credit. All right. Also, in case you were really, really sleeping, South Carolina women kind of shrugged off a tough first quarter and blew out Charleston Southern yesterday. You heard it right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia. A big struggle in the first quarter. Gamecocks only scored 11 points and were down to Charleston Southern by 4. Here is Dawn Staley talking about first half issues that have also crept up in other games this year as well.
Just that, it's sometimes it's a focus thing. Sometimes it's just, sometimes it's, you don't want to play the way that probably your coaches think you're going to play, and it's an adverse effect. So it was an adverse effect. Like, that is not shooting 14%. That is, even on our worst day, we don't really shoot 14%.
No, and just it was a rough day at the office in the first quarter. Didn't shoot the ball well. I like the idea you don't want to play the way your coaches think you should play or want you to play, and then all of a sudden you look up and you had 11 points in the first quarter. That's what's happening, in case you just woke up here on the Game Halftime Show. We'll come back. Hear more from Mike Shula, who met with the media this week as a new offensive coordinator here on the Game.
Now, let's hear from the
All right, time to get to our Firehouse Subtext of the hour. We're going to add in also a bunch of comments came in from our post about Gamecock Larry on social media, and we did. Our post was we send our heartfelt condolences to Gamecock Larry's family. We will miss talking to you every day, old friend. And we got a picture of Larry when he came out to our golf tournament in Charwood. And I love rocking those guys. And this is why we go to the Wood. Because they get us. They just do. They put up a big banner. The Wood welcomes 107.5 the game's football kickoff tournament and Gamecock Larry. And so we had to get a picture. Larry came out. It's the first time I had a chance to meet Larry. And Larry came out. His family brought him out. And I got to meet him, sitting there talking to him. And I was like, Larry, we got to get a picture of you by the banner that's talking about you. And so we got a picture of Larry by the banner with Gamecock Larry on our golf tournament banner. And so we put that up on social media. Bunch of comments. We thank you so much for just putting in your thoughts about Larry. Here's one from Christy. It just says, dang it, I wanted him so to get to see a national championship in football. I miss hearing him every morning. Heartbroken. Another one, Nathan, absolute legend, rest in peace. A bunch of those. Another one from Randy, never had the pleasure, but listen to the radio most days to hear him. Rest in peace, true Gamecock fan. Quincy, appreciate the many times each of you guys took his calls through the years. He always said the Gamecocks would prevail. Rest in peace, Larry. We admired you plenty. From MVRCO, this one really hurts. Rest in peace to the legend. Alluro, man, I loved hearing him talk about the Gamecocks. I just heard him yesterday morning with Preston and the crew. Rest well, Gamecock Larry. My sincere condolences to your family. And one more here from Gamecock Cash. I'm saddened to hear the news. Loved hearing him on the radio. He was always the Gamecock optimist. Rest in peace and fly high, Gamecock Larry. You now have the best seat in the house. Just really good stuff. And we appreciate, like I said, all your comments. There's so many comments on our social media platforms, and we thank you very much for that. We've been talking about it since the news came out yesterday. We'll miss Larry. The Midlands will miss Larry. All Gamecock fans will miss Larry. And we will continue to honor him, as we are today. And we will obviously continue to talk about Larry as the years go on. All right, Firehouse Subtext the hour. Texas thinks they can come in and take over. Pulled for Georgia in the SEC championship game. I think I'm going to have to pull for Texas over Clemson, though. I have a hard time rooting for Clemson. I mean, we're going to get into that game more next hour in football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. But, I mean, look, do I think Texas beats Clemson in Austin? Yeah, I do. Do I think Clemson can scare the bejesus out of Texas? And yeah, I do. Texas, when they've been playing good teams this year, it's not they've been smacking people around. They really haven't. I mean, their schedule is pretty easy for an SEC schedule. The one real team they played beat them twice. And the second time with their backup quarterback. So Texas on paper is supremely talented. But again, say what you want, Dabo has got a lot of big game experience. And if Texas screws around, and then you leave Clemson in that game in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. I almost think Texas will win, but Clemson will cover the number. So, but yeah, Gamecock fans are torn. They can't root for Clemson, but they don't want to root for Texas. Totally get it. We'll talk more about that game in the 1 o'clock hour during football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Like always, we appreciate your text on the Firehouse Subtext line 803-404-6100. We talk and yap about nothing but football coming up next in the 1 o'clock hour right here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, appreciate you spending some time with us today right here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. It's time to roll some football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. College football playoffs, again, start tonight. Indiana rolling into South Bend to take on the Irish. You know, they played once in 66 years. Billy Connolly does a phenomenal write-up about all the games. Despite the fact they're 200 miles apart in the state of Indiana, they played once. Let me scroll back up for this. It's kind of interesting. Once in 66 years. Ready? The quarterbacks in that game, Rick Meyer for Notre Dame, Trent Green for Indiana. Irish won 49-27 at home. We broke it down a little bit in the last hour. You know, these are two immovable objects. Notre Dame runs the ball really well. Indiana stops the run really well. Indiana's offense, pretty potent. Notre Dame's defense, pretty potent. Who breaks? The other thing, another key in this game that's interesting is Curtis Rourke, the quarterback of Indiana. If you give him time to throw, he can carve you up. But you start getting heat on him, especially late in the year, he was prone to maybe making some mistakes or bad decisions. Notre Dame has a really good pass rush. Indiana's missing one of their best offensive linemen. That could be a key. If Indiana can get Curtis Rourke time to throw, that's advantage Hoosiers. Another thing is Notre Dame is not great when they get behind the sticks. They're not a very explosive offense. They're very efficient. They run the ball well, not very explosive. So if you can put Notre Dame behind the sticks, bad down and distance situations, that's a recipe also. So for Indiana to win this game, and there's a path, even though I'm picking Notre Dame, rooting for Indiana, if Indiana can keep Curtis Rourke clean, to give him time to throw, to maybe make some plays offensively down the field, and B, can Indiana force Notre Dame into second and third and long situations to take them out of their run game, Hoosiers have a shot. Like I said, when we first riffed on it last hour, I just think Notre Dame's run game will wear Indiana down. When the Hoosiers have played their best teams on the schedule, Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana played much better in the first half than the second half. I feel like that's going to happen in this game. Hope I'm wrong, but I lean on toward Notre Dame. But go Hoosiers. All right, so the other game to get into, noon kickoff, Penn State, the 6th seed, hosting the 11th seed, SMU. This is another one. Now, look, Penn State should win this game. They just should. But will they? James Franklin is 1 in a billion in big games at Penn State. James Franklin can, beats, Northwestern like a drum. Can't beat Ohio State, can't beat Michigan. That's been a thing. SMU, last time I checked, does not play out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, or Columbus, Ohio. So you think, well, here we go, Penn State should be fine. SMU, they are all or nothing, feast or famine on offense. The kid Jennings, the quarterback, Kevin Jennings, can make big plays with his arm and make big mistakes. You saw it in the ACC championship game against Clemson. Dude can make plays. Dude can turn the ball over. That's SMU. The best defenses they've played, they made big plays and they've made big turnovers. Penn State's defense is better statistically than either Clemson's defense or Duke's defense, the two other best defenses that SMU went up against. But Penn State's defense, when they've played against the best offenses on their schedule, have given up yards and points. So could SMU move it around? Yes. They just can't turn the ball over. SMU has a shot if they stay clean on offense. That would be a big help for them. Penn State, it's Drew Aller. He's coming back. Aller, look, offensively, they were good against Oregon, much better than I thought they were going to be. Andy Kay, the offensive coordinator, is very creative. Penn State can run the ball. Don't have a lot of weapons at wide receiver, and that could be a thing. Because, I mean, again, SMU, they got some dudes on defense. They can give up points and yards, but they also have guys that can make plays. SMU is a forcing turnover defense. So if SMU can force the turnovers, not turn it over themselves, that gives them a shot. And if they can make some big plays against the Penn State defense, that would be good as well, and then slow down Penn State's running game. Could SMU do it? Sure. Look, if SMU can get it going early and, get Penn State on their heels a little bit, because, again, Penn State doesn't win big games under James Franklin, there could be a chance. Rhett Lashley, the head coach of SMU, talking about his quarterback who can make big plays and also sometimes can give the ball to the other team. Here's Lashley talking about Keith Jennings.
He's a winner. He's a leader. You guys have seen it. I know y'all have talked about him a lot on the show this year on Saturdays. I mean, he did. He won in high school. He stepped in here last year when Preston got hurt and won the conference championship game for us in his first career start. And then what he's done this year since we made him the starter after week 3, he's just he gave our offense an identity. He's explosive. You saw what he did in the second half of the Clemson game, leading us to come back. And, I think the special thing about Kevin, he has that unique ability to be incredibly confident and, like I said, a dog. Like, his teammates believe in him. And you know how it is to have a quarterback that the team believes in like that. At the same time, he's, like, incredibly humble. And he's not a me guy. And so he has that perfect blend. And the moment's just never too big for him. As a matter of fact, he's usually the best in the toughest moments.
Remember this, SMU came out and soiled themselves against Clemson. Tigers got a big lead, and then the Mustangs came back. We forget because Clemson did such an excellent job on that kickoff return after the game was tied and then and converted into the game-winning field goal. We forget Tigers blew a big lead. SMU just kept coming back and kept coming back and kept coming back, and all of a sudden you went, oh, my God, it's a tie game. How'd that happen? So SMU... they got some dudes. Smith, the running back, is really good. They got some transfer portal guys from some Power 4 programs. So if you're Penn State, you don't want to mess around here. You want to impose your authority early, get control of the game. Look, we've seen it. SMU won't quit. They didn't quit against Clemson. But you got to get a stranglehold on the game if you're Penn State. Because you leave SMU in there, this thing could get kooky in the fourth quarter. None of the teams in this tournament are without weakness or without ways you can beat them. No one is like, wow. No one's like the last so many years. We've seen Georgia. We've seen Bama. I'll say this now, and I got no proof, obviously. But if Georgia plays Michigan last year in the national championship game, Georgia wins. I am firmly confident of that. I would bet all of Tyler Head's money in his bank account that his Bulldogs would have beat Michigan. But I don't see a team to the level of a Georgia or a Bama, what we've seen the last so many years. That machine that LSU was with Joe Burrow that one year. I just don't. Everybody's got flaws. There are these you could lose flaws in all these teams. So if you're Penn State, you hope SMU is very gracious with the football and gives you that opportunity to get some turnovers, turn them into points. All of a sudden, you get a multi-score lead, and with the ability you have to run the football if you're the Nittany Lions, you can have a nice, comfortable win. We'll see. Now, again, the Penn State tight end is a matchup nightmare that SMU is going to have to deal with. And that could be a big part of this football game because the offensive coordinator, Andy Kay, has very creative in how he uses the Penn State tight end. So we'll see where this thing goes. Because, again, the Lions do not have a lot of greatness at wide receiver in any way, shape, or form. So, look, if Penn State lost, I would not be shocked at all. So we'll see where that goes. We shall see. All right. Also, do we get to this? Sure. Texas and Clemson in Austin. Texas, interesting record, 0-2 against Georgia, 11-0 against everybody else. Again, Not the most daunting schedule in the world. A really good defense. Texas really has dudes on defense to fly around. I mean, some of these stats, first in yards allowed per play, second in points allowed per drive, first in yards allowed per drop back. You can run the ball a little bit against them, but they make you march down the field. They're not going to give up a ton of big plays or explosive plays, and there's a really good D. But offensively, that's where Clemson can hang your hat. That Texas offense. Quinn Ewers, look, this is just the truth. Quinn Ewers has not played consistently well all year. Yes, he's been hurt. But Ewers doesn't like to throw the ball down the field, and he's not comfortable throwing it down the field, and he's regressed. Early in his career, he wasn't very good at it. He hit the sweet spot last year throwing it down the field with some wide receivers that are now in the NFL. And this year, with a good wide receiver core, Ewers has again struggled making plays down the field, missing open guys, whether he just missed them in the read progression or missing them with throws. Arch Manning with a limited, resume, has been better throwing the ball 10-plus yards down the field than Quinn Ewers. If the Texas offense continues to stumble around a little bit with inconsistency and you want to win in the college football playoff, if you're Steve Sarkisian, do you pull a Nick Saban and put in the youngin and bench the vet? Like Nick did with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa all those years ago. If you're Sarkisian and Ewers struggles, you got to think about it. You saw Sarkisian do it in that first Georgia game in Austin. To me, you've got to look at it like, look, we're here to win. I don't care about anybody's feelings. Speaking of Sark, here's Steve Sarkisian talking about, doesn't matter if you're favored or not, this thing's going to be tight.
I think, the one thing about our team is we're really versatile. I think we can do a lot of things well, and we can lean into different aspects of our team for what's needed to win whatever style of game that we're presented with. And so I think that's a huge factor in our ability to be successful. I think our depth is another, huge factor in us being successful. We can withstand injuries and when guys get knocked out of games or for an extended period of time, and we can continue to perform at a high level. And we've been in this arena before. This is a 12-team playoff this year. It was a 4-team playoff last year, and we're the only one that's in it again this year. So I think that says a lot about our team, our coaching staff, that we're able to get back into this space again. When the other schools weren't able to do so. And so I think us being comfortable in the arena, understanding the task at hand, I feel comfortable with that, again, it's going to take a great effort. We're going to have to play really well and all that, but I feel comfortable that we've put ourselves in position to do that. I don't know, favored or not. This is going to be a war Saturday. That's how I look at it.
Look, the Texas offense over the last 7 games has regressed. Regressed. Giving up more sacks, less big plays, more tackles for loss. Turnover rate isn't great. They're giving up. They're just losing at the line of scrimmage. They're not making big plays. Quinn Ewers has really scuffled. Clemson's interesting. Offensively, they're better than they were last year. Defensively, not as good as they were last year. But again, this is going to be a theme of this weekend. The favorite, you don't let the dog hang around, because the dog can bite you. Same thing here. If you're Texas, you don't want to be screwing around with this thing, and all of a sudden, Clemson's got the ball in the one-possession game with 42 seconds left, and they're inside your 30-yard line with a chance to steal it from you. I admit, look, I feel like I was wrong about Sark, but we'll see what happens in Austin. I think Texas wins, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors right here on the Game.
And welcome back in. It is the halftime show. No, I'm not Terry Ford. I'm Tyler Head. Yes, I'm still in the building. Terry had to run upstairs, grab some stuff from our little company holiday party. So holding down the fort for a couple minutes till he gets back in here. Of course, talking all day long, really, getting you set for the college football playoffs. And the first round games starting tonight with Indiana and Notre Dame and running through tomorrow with all three of the on-campus games, culminating with Tennessee and Ohio State coming up tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. That game is on ABC and ESPN. For those that don't remember, the two games in the middle of the day are on TNT and Max. So if you're channel surfing, they're going to have to go to a different channel than ESPN to find those games. But should be a fun day. Looking forward to it. We've been building this up for so long with the college football playoff. And, when it was announced to be a 12-team a year and a half, 2 years ago, however long it was, and we're finally here. And I think we got good matchups. Certainly could see a lopsided game or two, but for the most part, hopefully we get 4 competitive games that are going to be fun to watch and set the table for some fun quarterfinal games on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and only pushing to the semifinals and the national championship. The cool thing about the expanded playoff now, I enjoyed the 14 playoff, but it was over so quickly, right? Like you had conference championships, then you announced the 4 teams the next day, and then it's a solid month until you see those games happen on December 31st, January 1st, whatever it may be, and then boom, like 6 days later, you're playing the national championship and it's over. This, and I look at this from the content standpoint of the job we do here, it provides prolonged stories, right? So you get first-round games here. Then you get the second-round games, 10 days later on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Then a week and a half after that, you're getting the quarterfinal games. And 10 days after that, you're getting the national championship game. So it allows a lot of time to really marinate on what you're seeing. And obviously the story, very compelling month of college football. And again, kind of gets rolling here. Coming tonight with Indiana and Notre Dame. Last look, nice little blanket of snow up there in South Bend. So if you're a snowy weather football fan, you're going to be in for a treat tonight. We talked with our guy Joe Machika from the Big Spur a little bit earlier on this morning. He advised me it was freezing up there. It's not going to get above freezing today, so no snow melting. I've seen the pictures from Heather Dennett and people out there on the ground, and it looks like a scene out of Rudy. You know what I mean? Like it's picturesque and should be a great backdrop for what should be a fun college football game at like the pinnacle of what college football is, Notre Dame. You don't have to love Notre Dame to appreciate the history and the beauty of what they got going on campus up there. Touchdown Jesus, the whole 9 yards, the old school, stadium. It's going to be great. Can't wait for it. And, man, I think these are two pretty evenly matched teams between Indiana and Notre Dame to have a first-round game kicking things off coming up tonight. Terry Ford has decided to rejoin the show.
The funniest part, I was just really kidding when I said take it if I don't make it back. But we have 2 elevators working out of 6. And right now, it's a FUBAR. Thank you, my man. Good job, good work. You're the man. You did a nice job. Proud of you. There you go. Go for it. Go get them. Tyler Head back from the big holiday get-together. By the way, the food, I haven't eaten it yet, but, man, it looks good. Phenomenal. Jeez. Man. It's like pulled pork and chicken and mac and cheese. But, again, my idea, I start dessert and work my way back to food this time of year because if I got the choice of like eating real food or eating desserts, I go B. I might be the unhealthiest eating adult man in the world. It's kind of sad. All right, what Tyler was talking about is we do football in the 1 o'clock hour with these games, and again the one tonight in South Bend. We haven't had a chance to play any of the sound, but let's get to Coach Sig, Kurt Signetti. He is talking about being in this thing. Indiana's not here just to go, woohoo, we made it to the college football playoff. They want to do damage.
I mean, we're still in prep. We've had a good week. Our guys will be excited to play. And, we're in it to win it. We don't want a participation medal, right?
Now, you're playing with house money. I mean, sometimes we'll see a team that gets into the postseason. They're just happy to be there, right? This is cool. We're here. Who cares if we get our brains beat in? We were here, and that's what matters. But you see the ones that get in and then do damage because, again, they're playing with house money. Nobody thinks Indiana is going to go deep in this college football playoff. Most people think they don't leave South Bend with a win at all. So if you're Coach Sig, you're like, we're good. Nobody thinks we can do anything. So let's just go out there and play loose and have fun and hopefully We can shock the college football world. Here's Cignetti talking about it's business as usual with his team.
No, it's business as usual. That kind of hype is for you guys and people that love to follow sports. And I mean, you prepare for this game like you prepared for game 4 or game 5. I mean, the standard's the standard, right? And if there was a better way to do it, we'd do it that way every time. So I like where we're at. I like our mindset. I think we learned some good things coming out of Ohio State, some situations we'll handle a little better. And I'm confident. I'm confident in our team going into this game. And, we'll be ready to go.
And I get where Cignetti's going because coaches say that. And really, in a perfect world, you try to do that in everything, right? Because, I mean, forget sports for a minute. Your life, you have a big job interview, you got some big moment in your life. Maybe you're going to ask somebody to marry you, whatever it is. You get a little geeked, right? You just take a breath, try to make the day. It's not a normal day, but you try to make it a normal day to get through it, but it's not a normal day. And that's kind of what Indiana or any of these teams are going to go through. Got to try to make it a normal week. It's business as usual. We're preparing like we're preparing for a game in September. We're going to do our business like we would for a game in September. It's the same week of prep as it is for that, middle school team we play in September to give them a check after we beat them 100-0. But in reality, it's not. So that's the balance here, right? Because when you have a big day in your life, you try to just your attention to detail and all those things because it is a college football playoff game. You can't let the moment get too big for you, but you also understand that you are going to be naturally more geeked this week because it's a college football playoff game. What you can't have are nerves. Once that game starts, it's kicked off, it is just another game. You're just playing ball. But you can't psych yourself out before you get out there to play. Oh, it's a big game. It's such a big game. Millions of people can be watching me. Yeah, stop. You gotta just, once you go on the field to play, you're just playing ball. And the teams that can navigate all that the best obviously have a better chance to win. And a lot of that comes to coaching staff and how you handle the week, your message to your players, the way you navigate these 7 days. A lot of that starts with the coaching staff. And, Cignetti's saying, look, it's just business as usual, man. We're just getting ready for a game. That's the vibe he wants with his team. He knows that's when they'll be at their best. So we'll see tonight. Again, I think Notre Dame wins, but I am absolutely rooting for Indiana. No doubt. All right, it's football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We've got a little bit more from the college football playoff to get to. We're also going to circle back to some of Mike Shula's comments about Lenoris Sellers. We'll re-rack the comment about how he wants to make Lenoris better, but also one we haven't played yet, the comment where Mike Shula, the new offensive coordinator, talks about what he's learned from Lenoris Sellers. So we got that coming up for Mike Shula next. It is the halftime show as we roll through the 1 o'clock hour and we go football right here on The Game. What we do and what we talk about in the 1 o'clock hour every day here on the Halftime Show is football, football, football. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Mike Shula introduces the offensive coordinator at South Carolina this week. Long introductory press conference from Shula. And I want to zero in on his relationship or his working relationship with Lenore Sellers, because Shula, obviously, as the senior offensive analyst, was praised for what he did with Lenore Sellers during the year. Here's Shula on what he's learned from Lenore Sellers.
Well, I think the biggest thing, he's very poised, and it's hard to kind of see that to start with, because everything was so new, even in the first game, and when maybe we weren't clicking quite as well as we should have been, and he maybe missed a couple throws or a couple reads, just to kind of see how he was after a negative play. Was that going to affect the next series? And he's pretty cool. Now he's doing so many good things. And I mean this in a positive way. He's doing so many good things right now, but he still has a lot to learn and will grow. And again, I mean that in a positive way. And when he does, if he continues the way he's kind of ascended this year, I mean, it can be a really cool thing. And I think, kind of a recruiting pitch, but I think if you're a player out there, whether or not you're a young recruit or a transfer player, then I mean, it'd be pretty exciting to have him as your quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, to be able to work with Sellers coming through the portal, if you're a wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman, running back. I mean, you're seeing a guy whose trajectory. Gotta stop putting Bailey's in that coffee. The trajectory of Lenore Sellers is nothing but up, up, up. And, and Mike Shula talked about the poise. The one thing watching Sellers, even when he was struggling early in the year, he'd go to the sideline. There was no moping, throwing his helmet, drooping, having to be, man-hugged by his teammates. He just stood on the sideline. You couldn't tell if he had a great series or a bad series. And, I mean, that just goes to, you got to be even-keeled, man. And not to say you can't celebrate big moments, but you just got to be even-keeled through all of this. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. If you can keep your head, that's the beautiful thing. And it feels like Sellers is a very even-keeled guy. And I think that just does you well, especially when you're learning. And you're going to have your moments where you go, oh, I don't want to do that again. That wasn't good. And then you're going to have your moments where you show the world, wow, just how good you can be. And I think Sellers being so straight line across just helps him. Just helps him. Now, here's Mike Shula. In case you missed this cut from the week, here's Mike Shula talking about how you get Sellers to the next level as a quarterback, because that's kind of important.
Well, number one, it's pretty exciting, and he's he'd probably get mad if I say this, so don't tell him. But some of those runs he's had, maybe where he was just terrific running it, he probably could have got the ball out on time and where he didn't have to run it. But and that's what I mean by with experience, that's just going to only make him more dangerous. And again, he's got now it's his first year playing. He's done a lot of cool things. We've won a lot of games because of him. And moving forward, if he stays on that right path, it's going to be hopefully equate to a lot of wins. But he knows that with experience he'll get better, and he works hard at it. He doesn't look back on what he's done and say and act like he's arrived or anything like that. And then as far as continuing to help him and the things that we're going to do, we want to, number one, just build on what D'Lo has done. He's done a great job. I mean, and again, I can't say it enough. I'm so grateful for him reaching out and allowing me to come here and Coach Beamer just to be wanted, number one, to be a part of this. And in our meetings with the offensive staff, it's not that it really mattered to D'Lo, but it was easy for me to just kind of think we kind of thought a lot alike. And I think now, because of that, we're going to continue to do what we're doing, build on, maybe expand a little bit as Lenoris gets more experienced, and try to make it better. But what D'Lo started this year, especially right at the beginning of fall camp, guys really took to it, embraced it, and he challenged them. And talk about a guy that clearly communicates with players, and especially with the quarterbacks, he's that guy, and just kind of want to continue to build off that.
Yeah, I mean, you build and you expand and you grow as the quarterback gets better in what he's doing, but it feels like they will continue down the same path with offensive philosophy that they have the past year under Dow Loggins, which again makes sense. Continuity. One of the reasons, you promote Mike Shula to the OC quarterback coach is you want to hold on to the continuity of what you were doing this past year. You could see Lenore Sellers getting better and developing. Last week against Clemson, he beats the Tigers with his legs. Week before that, he beats Missouri Tigers with his arm. Sky's the limit for Sellers. He's worked well with Mike Shula. He's worked well in this offense. And now you can start, maybe putting some more things on the plate. Now that he's showing he is getting better and he is getting it. And the light bulbs are coming on, now you can maybe start expanding what you do on offense to fit the expansion of Lenore Sellers' game. Makes total sense. So there's Mike Shula, a couple cuts from Shula. All right, college football playoff. Back to the weekend. Saturday, 8 p.m., Tennessee, Ohio State. Look, the biggest thing to me is what's going on inside Ohio State's head. We talked about this earlier. Michigan now owns a townhouse in the Buckeyes' brain. They do. It's got a nice yard. Sweet big screen TVs. Nice kitchen with an island. It's open, like that open floor plan. Michigan's got that in Ohio State's head. Where is Ohio State mentally? That's just such an important deal in this football game. Where are the Buckeyes in their head? Have they truly washed Michigan out, and they're now ready for what's the most important thing in the big picture, which is going to win a national championship? Or are they still living that Michigan game? Here's Ryan Day saying what he's supposed to say about that topic.
When you it's like 1 week, okay, that's one thing, a month, there's another challenge with that. 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. It allowed us the week to sort through, the issues and get them addressed, take accountability, because that's the big part of that. Like, nothing matters if the problems aren't fixed, and then we don't make adjustments. That's what it comes down to. And then the recognition that, okay, we're in the playoffs now. Like, that game's behind us. The game is never going to change. It's never going to change here at Ohio State. However, like the playoffs have, the expanded playoffs have, the format has. This is very different than it's been in the past. So, all right, we're in this thing, and now we got 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that part's been good, and that's kind of been the layout.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to say. Because the way he says it, he doesn't sound sure of himself, does he? It's like he's talking himself into it. You ever talk yourself into something because it's the way you're supposed to think and the way what you're supposed to say, but you really don't believe it? Check this out again real fast. Here's Ryan Day, what he was just yipping about.
When you it's like 1 week, okay, that's one thing, a month, there's another challenge with that. 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. It allowed us the week to sort through, the issues and get them addressed, take accountability, because that's the big part of that. Like, nothing matters if the problems aren't fixed, and then we don't make adjustments. That's what it comes down to. And then the recognition that, okay, we're in the playoffs now. Like, that game's behind us. The game is never going to change. It's never going to change here at Ohio State. However, like the playoffs have, the expanded playoffs have, the format has. This is very different than it's been in the past. So, all right, we're in this thing, and now we got 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that part's been good, and that's kind of been the layout.
Man, I'm not buying him. I mean, we were talking more about this game before we get off the air at 3, but number one is where's Ohio State in the headspace? Where are they at mentally? Have they truly washed that Michigan game and have they moved forward? Do they realize they're in the college football playoff? And it's time to enough of the Michigan thing. That's over. You don't want Michigan to beat you twice. That's the key to me. Is Michigan going to beat Ohio State again? Because Michigan is as much an opponent this weekend as Tennessee. We'll talk more about that game, though, coming up. All right, our Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. Also, we'll check some more of your posts about our friend Gamecock Larry, who left us yesterday morning, and we've been trying to honor Larry and pay tribute to him because he deserves it. Just a phenomenal Gamecock fan and a friend of the game. So we're going to have some of those comments as well coming up on the halftime show with Terry Ford here on The Game. Firehouse Sub Text the hour coming up here in just a second on the halftime show at 803-404-6100. But first, we've been hitting our social media platforms. A lot of tributes to Gamecock Larry they've been pouring in last couple of days. And we sincerely appreciate all of your thoughts and comments about Larry. We really do. A couple of the comments, again, not a Gamecock, but I enjoyed every morning listening to him and how passionate he was about the Gamecocks. A true Gamecock, Nick says. Heard him on the radio yesterday. This was obviously yesterday. Rest in peace. We love you, Gamecock Larry. Rest in peace. Cheer us on, as I know you will. Donnie, I thought I heard him on yesterday. Prayers to his family. Gamecock Larry was the best of Gamecock Nation. Daryl, I live in Rock Hill, so mostly heard him on Sports Talk in the evenings, always the first caller. Wish I had 1/10 of his optimism of all things Gamecock. I will miss hearing him. This is incredibly sad. What a great man. That's from Matt Allen. Rest in peace, Gamecock Larry. Prayers for comfort and understanding during this difficult time for his family. Another tweet, man, that stinks. Loved it when he would end his call with love y'all and go Gamecocks. And I'm a Georgia fan. That's just some of the comments. And one from the Tiger side of the state. From Tiger Nation, our deepest condolences. Gamecock Larry was the reason I listen to 107.5 The Game every morning. I'll miss you, old buddy. He was something. And what a sad year for the Gamecocks. First Gamecock Jesus and Gamecock Larry, forever to thee, pillars of the Gamecock family, which we will never forget. And just keep them coming. We appreciate it very much. The thoughts about the passing of Gamecock Larry yesterday. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. Man, you nailed it on Notre Dame. I've never been a fan. Tired of the Irish my whole life. Always been shoved down my throat. Go Indiana. Go anybody that plays Notre Dame. See, that would have been the old me right there. That text might have been from the 25-year-old version of me, the crazy fan, who had deep hate for Notre Dame when I was younger. But yeah, but that's what we do with these big brands, right? We get tired of it, tired of hearing about it. They get every advantage, and then we start to go, and they get all the calls, and they get all the, the TV love, and they get all of this and all of that, and there's a reason they get it, but you get tired of it. I get it. I do. Totally understand. Absolutely. Drives you insane. And we know that if Notre Dame is a one-loss team, they're going to the college football playoff. If Notre Dame's a two-loss team, they might even be a college football playoff team, depending on when those losses were. Because, again, the college football world, the powers that be and the people that make decisions want Notre Dame on the big stage. Because in their mind, that means more ratings and more dollars. More dollars. Absolutely. So appreciate the text, like always, 803-404-6100. Diego Pavia is an interesting story. We're going to get to it at what's trending it too a little bit more in depth, most likely. But this Pavia story where he got an injunction to be able to play football next year at Vandy, maybe, saying basically my JUCO years should not be held against me in eligibility. And look, if you're a player, you go for it. You go to court with this, you throw it against the wall. If it stinks and smells and all of a sudden it works for you, great. I got no problem with Pavia doing this because, again, everybody else is suing the NCAA and winning. What the heck? I might as well do it too, right? And right now, Pavia is winning, so to speak. The NCAA is going to have a chance to counter this thing. Are you heading down a really weird, slippery slope of, okay, what is eligibility, what is not? You don't look at a prep school as taking away eligibility, but you do a JUCO. And everything now, when you go to court, you just have to say this: you are inhibiting me to take advantage of my name, image, and likeness. Because that's the angle Pavia and his people went with. Now, if it works, say good for you, Diego. But the other part of it is, Pavia, if he does have another year of eligibility, there's no guarantee he'll stay at Vandy. He could be leveraging this for another year of eligibility anywhere he can get the most NIL dough, too. Keep that in mind. All right, what's trending at 2? Coming up from Traditions, Fine Jewelry, and Gamecock Traditions here on the Halftime Show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging with us here on the game. What's trending at 2 here on the Halftime Show, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. I want to finish up on the Diego Pavia real quick. If you haven't heard, again, Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia was granted an injunction by the courts to continue playing college football. Basically, Pavia saying his year of junior college should not be counted against him regarding eligibility, which would free him up with another year of eligibility to be able to play college football, whether it's at Vanderbilt or somewhere else. And courts granted it. NCAA obviously will fight back and most likely lose like usual. And, Pavia will most likely get that next year. Now, the question is, should he get the next year? Now, it depends. If you want to look at the legal idea of, okay, playing in junior college, which is not playing Division I football bowl division football, should that be held against you because it's junior college, it's a different entity? And are you now being hindered in your ability to leverage your name, image, and likeness to generate revenue for yourself? Now, if you go down that road, I can see why Pavia would say it. Now, prep school doesn't count against you. But that's not college. Junior college, JUCO, I mean, it ends in the word college last time I checked. But now you're going to say the only eligibility that counts is playing FBS football. So if you go to a junior college for 2 years and you transfer, you would still have 4 years of eligibility left? I mean, in this world where right now you got 24, 25-year-olds playing college football, it's not like that would change a lot of stuff because that's where we're at because of the COVID year. So, I mean, sure. As you start to going down, look, everything's a slippery slope now. I mean, we say that every week, don't we? Well, that's a slippery slope. Well, that's the new world of college athletics because, again, you have no commissioner of college athletics. You have really no governing body that knows what they're doing. They're not proactive. They're just sitting back and putting their feet up going, okay, have at it. You want all this so bad? Good. We're out of the way. Forget it. Every time we try to do anything, we get sued anyway and we go to court and lose. This is the problem you have. And, of course, they keep saying, oh, Congress has got to bail us out. Well, Congress ain't going to bail you out. Good luck. Once again, you got to bail yourself out. You got to take a step back and go, look, we just can't sit around here waiting for Congress to save our tail. We got to figure out how to save our own. You're on the Titanic. You've hit the iceberg. You're sinking into the water. And are you going to stay on the ship and wait for someone to save you before you become an iceberg or an icicle? I would try to save myself. Be proactive. You might have to do things you don't like. Collectively bargain. But you're going to have to do something to, make your sport make sense again. You can't wait for Congress. And if I'm Diego Pavia, sure, I'm going to sue my tail off to try to get my extra year because Diego Pavia's not an NFL quarterback. He's just not. He's trying to get as much for himself regarding monetizing Diego Pavia as he can. And I don't blame him. And if you... Should he? I think about it. And junior college isn't the NCAA, FBS Division I. No, it's not. So I get that point. You are playing in college, just playing at a very low level. So should it count against you eligibility-wise? It's an interesting conversation. My first thought, if we're going to be consistent, then just count what matters at FBS Division I. But what happens when a guy who's played on I don't know, I guess they would look at all that as NCAA football. So, Diego Pavia, and we'll see where it goes. We will. All right, so we had a hoops game yesterday. South Carolina's women's slow starting. Got it going and then smacked around Charleston Southern. Here's Dawn Staley. Team's only lost one game all year. They're number 2 in the country. Is this team where she thought it would be at this point of the season?
I really had not thought ahead. I'm just in the moment, just handling things in the moment. And I feel like when we're just staying in the moment, we're a much better basketball team than, saying that at the break, we want to be 12-0 or 11-0. Like I didn't do that last year either. I just took every game as it came, because you never know who you're going to get. Like, you never know what team you're going to get. If you get the team that is focused and ready to go, I mean, you feel a lot of comfort in that. If you get our first quarter team, it makes you wonder. So I'm happy that we got over a really hard non-conference season with two non-conference games left to play, and looking forward to our conference, because it is, we play Wofford after the break, but looking forward to our conference because it's going to be another challenging opportunity for us to get better.
I mean, it's always a tough question. Are you where you think you would be at this time of the year? Because that's so, fluid. I mean, you might not be where you think you should be, but then at the end, you're better than you would imagined. I almost feel like, again, because coach speak, just get better every game. Just focus on the next game. We're going to be 1-0 and all that mumbo-jumbo. But I guess coaches, some might have signposts through the season, kind of checking where you're at and where you want to be, and are you as good as you thought you'd be at this point, and if you're not, what do you got to do to get where you want to be? I mean, coaches always formulate in their head like that. But, you just got to see we got to do something about these slow starts in some games. Yeah, it makes sense. We need to make sure we're consistently being able to score inside and outside. Makes sense. Yeah. So there's things that you're looking at with this team as you move along. I don't know if it's you really are stopping and going, okay, are we as good as we thought we would be at this point? But there are things you'd like to clean up, obviously. You're happy with Joyce Edwards, the freshman, how she's played. You're happy with some other pieces. Malaysia Fawali has struggled shooting the rock this year, if you look at the whole season. That's something you hope gets better. But, this basketball team's only lost one game. There's some things that have to get tweaked, but they're going down a good path. Here's Dawn, last one with her. What was her question at halftime with her team not struggling, but just kind of like sleepwalking?
Well, I said a lot, but I'm not going to blow my top. I understand where they are and this type of game. I'm not making excuses for them. But when you know, you just try to fight and get them back to a good place. And the question mark is, it's just they leave you with a lot of questions. They force us to question, their ability to lock in and be disciplined. They force us, to have questions about, who should play, who shouldn't play, who should, all of these things. And it's just teaching. It's just teaching moments in which I don't know if it goes in one ear up and out the other, or if you got to say it another time and another place for it to really resonate with what we need as a team.
Yeah, sometimes you say something and you can see it just goes right past them, right? Let's think about it with your kids, whether they're young, they're teenagers, they're college age, whatever. Sometimes you're saying something to them and you go, wow, lights are on and nobody's home. Or they don't want to hear it because, they're smarter than you. You know how that goes. Yeah, you guys haven't been me. You don't know about being 17. Yeah, I was born 30, bub. Sometimes you realize, okay, the message isn't getting there. Then you got to either repackage the message or figure out a better time or a better space to do it in. But you got to get the message across to make sure it works. So South Carolina trucking along, there are things that need to get better, but you're number 2 in the country. You've lost one game. Lamont Paris was on Carolina Calls last night discussing a bunch of different things. And one thing he did talk about, Colin Murray-Boyles was unreal in the win over Clemson. Here is Lamont Paris on CMB's performance.
Of those, I would say we ran the same exact play.
Right.
I mean, I'm not the smartest guy ever, but I'm no dummy either. And we ran the same exact play. I mean, at least 6 times in a row. And we scored in a variety of ways. Sometimes it was him doing it. Other times it was him. Miles Studi cut to the basket for a layup. That was a big play. He threw it out, and he led us an assist, and he didn't even get the one hockey assist. It was at least one hockey assist where he threw it on the 45 to I can't remember who it was, and they turned it to the next guy, and he got a wide open three. So he generated a lot of offense for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Colin Murray-Boyles was really good, whether he was scoring for himself, setting up his teammates, making the right play, the right pass. I mean, it was quite the performance for Colin Murray-Boyles in that win over Clemson. Lamont Paris, again, talking about a variety of things. Here's Lamont talking about the value of getting a win over Clemson.
Turned out in regulation. We had our opportunities to win it in regulation with we talked specifically about the things that had to happen in order for us not to win it at that point. We had to turn the ball over. They needed to get threes, and we had to not turn it over in order to win. We had to not give them threes in order to win, and we had to get to the free throw line and make them. And then we didn't do all of those. We go 1 out of 4 in critical free throws. We give up a 3 at a time where we were trying to take threes away. You didn't have a ton of turnovers, but we did on the offensive foul. Like, it just was everything that we were trying not to do, we seemed to do at that point. And then so just to find a way. But yeah, if you lose that game, having it not in hand, I don't want to get that. The game was back and forth, but we did lead and control the game most of the game, and it was the same last year at their place. Mm-hmm. We led for the vast majority of the game, and we ended up losing, and it just leaves even that much more sting attached to it when you do that. So fortunately for us, the guys were able to find a way to bring the ship home.
All right, and of course this weekend, South Carolina going at it with Radford. Matter of fact, we have tickets we're going to give away here in just a matter of minutes, so get ready. Get ready. That's coming up. Going back to the college football playoff, we didn't finish our thoughts up on Ohio State and Tennessee. And one of the things about that game, to me, 2 high-level defenses, 2 defenses that can shut you down. To me, it's going to be which passing game, which quarterback plays better. I mean, Nico at Tennessee, he's gotten even scared to throw the ball down the field. He has struggled so much this year. And as the season has gone on, he's got more and more gun shy. He takes too many sacks. He doesn't try to make big plays down the field. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is the one positive. But Nico out of all the quarterbacks in the college football playoff, he's got the lowest QBR. He's just really struggled. Really has. But obviously he's got a lot of ability. And he's a guy that, with his talent, he could make some plays. Tennessee's wide receiver room is beat up and injured. Ohio State, Will Howard late in games, not good. We saw the brain cramp against Oregon, but, he scuffled in the second half against Michigan. Against Penn State, Ohio State's offense, hit a brick wall in the second half. Can Howard make plays? Whichever quarterback makes the plays, that's a team that wins. Obviously, Tennessee has a fancy passing game. I think Dylan Sampson could run wild against Ohio State. They haven't seen an offense this kind of system that shrinks the box and makes less defenders at the line of scrimmage. So this is going to be an interesting game. I think it'll come down to quarterbacks before it's all said and done. Scott Hamilton, Post and Courier. We're going to talk with Scott next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. What's trending at 2 every Friday at 2:15? Our buddy Scott Hamilton, Post and Courier columnist. How dedicated is our boy to jumping on the show? He's in line getting burgers as I speak.
I came outside.
You got out of line?
I've already ordered them.
Okay.
I got my number, and I didn't want to be that guy. You know, I mean, especially like the guy who puts it on speakerphone.
Oh
and
yeah.
Just stands there. Like I just saw. Actually, I just encountered that in Walmart about 30 minutes ago.
Oh, that's my favorite guy.
Drove me insane. Well, this was a female, and it was a large female, and I wasn't going to tell her, hey, you know, take the conversation elsewhere. So I just sucked it up. I dealt with it, man. I got what I needed and left.
All right. See, look at you. Look at you.
Man.
See, that's why I just go in and shoplift. It just makes it a lot easier.
Dude, I couldn't. Like, that was the problem. I had to wait because full disclosure, I was trying to buy, like, there's this selfie stick that also turns into a tripod.
Uh-huh.
And it's really good when you're doing, like, you know, Zoom calls and stuff like that.
Right,
so I needed one. So it's hanging there, you know, where you can just pull it and get it. Nope. Can't do it anymore. They got them locked down. So you got to wait till somebody has the special key to get it.
Oh.
So like this lady says, I don't have the magnet. You go stand over there, and then somebody will come by. So I'm waiting, and that's when Sally was having her phone call.
Oh, man.
So it's like 20 minutes it took me to get this. I even went over at one point, Terry, and this is between you and me and all of our wonderful listeners.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to cut the thing with my key, and it's too thick because I'm not stealing it. I mean, I'm going to buy it. So I'm like, if they catch me, are they going to get mad? I mean, I'm going to buy it.
Right.
You know, so anyway, that was my day, man. Now I'm talking to you, waiting on my burgers.
This is the lower point than Walmart. All right, Scott Hamilton, Post and Courier, hanging out with us here on the halftime show on the game. All right, you wrote a very interesting, thought-provoking piece for the Post and Courier about Dave Clawson resigning at Wake Forest. You know, we yipped about this on the show, what it means in the bigger picture, because it does mean something in the bigger picture. Let's just start with what it means at Wake Forest, and what does it say about future competitiveness for a school like Wake Forest in this NIL transfer portal world?
It just illustrates what we already knew, that these small schools, you know, especially any school really in the ACC to a certain degree, not all of them, but most of them, they can't keep up. They just can't keep up. And Wake Forest is the fourth smallest FBS school by enrollment. It is literally the smallest Power 4 school. It's private. It doesn't have deep pockets. It doesn't have massive resources. It's a developmental program. So what you do is you go and you recruit 3 stars, and you get them bigger, faster, stronger, better. Let them have the training table, the weight room for 4 years, and then they play. Well, what's happening is other programs are swooping in and taking these players. I mean, look at Kenneth Walker III. Mm-hmm. He was at Wake Forest, went on to Michigan State, and had a fantastic season. Sam Hartman finished up at Notre Dame. And finally, Dave Clawson. And it's funny because I literally told somebody last week, I said, I don't think he's going to be around much longer. Then he resigns. I mean, he couldn't take it anymore. And he won't say he's retiring. He's resigning as being the Wake Forest coach. He's still going to have a job as like a consultant or something for the university. And then he'll reassess in a year if he wants to coach again. Because the dude can coach. He took Wake Forest to 7 straight bowl games. And you can say, oh, well, that's ACC and it's hard not to get in a bowl game and all this, that, and the other now. That's not a good program, man. That's not a good program. And what he did there was incredible. And I'm hoping that he goes and he coaches again somewhere where they will give him groceries so he can really cook, man, because he's a legit coach.
Scott Hamilton with us from the Post and Courier talking about Scott's latest column about Dave Clawson resigning at Wake Forest. What does it mean not only to Wake Forest but the bigger picture of college football? Let's go next step, Scott. Let's talk about schools like Wake. You know, the like you like to call them book first schools, you know, that we have in the Power 4 conferences. What does this say about their future and what they have to do to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak?
I don't think they can. I don't think they can, and that's what really makes this deal with Jake Dickert, the new coach at Wake Forest, so interesting, because he's leaving Washington State, and we know Washington State's in a purgatory of sorts, the Pac-12/Pac-2. You know, what's the future for Washington State? And I get that he's taking a Power 4 job. Wake Forest is a Power 4 job, member of the ACC, but the ceiling is so low. And do you see a world in 10 years where Wake Forest and Vanderbilt, and Northwestern and Cal and Stanford, maybe even Duke, are rubbing shoulders with Alabama and Ohio State and Texas? It's not happening. So I'm almost of the mind that Jake Dickert is going to go there and just kind of maybe audition for a bigger job. I mean, I think he would have been better served, given they had a pretty good year at Washington State. I think he would have been better served waiting until the next coaching cycle. It perplexes me why he jumped at this opportunity, because if I've got any kind of potential, if I've got any kind of future, or my stock is rising as a college coach, I'm not going to go somewhere like Wake Forest that's going to be picked clean by some bigger schools in the portal anyhow, but definitely now that they've got the additional time because of the coaching change. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I would love to know his thinking.
Scott Hamilton hanging out with us from the Post and Courier on the halftime show on the game. You know, it's Dickert, you hit it on the head. If Washington State if they're still a Pac-12 and still a power league, Dickert's not leaving Washington State for Wake Forest. It's not happening. He has wants to get into a power league, and I think you hit it perfect. He wants to come to Wake Forest, quote-unquote, audition, and then go to a better power conference school. That's absolutely what he's doing.
Yeah, and if you saw his comments yesterday about how excited he was to be able to recruit in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and how before he could only have like the Pacific Northwest in Canada, totally threw those people under the bus. I mean, I wouldn't hire this guy, first of all, because he's not a loyal dude. that would be the first red flag. Second red flag is, why are you coming here? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And look, I'm going to be really candid with you. I was a columnist in Winston-Salem for a long time. I was there the day Dave Clawson got hired from Bowling Green, and I watched him become a part of the community. He has family issues and responsibilities and concerns that really tie him to that area, to that community. And I did not think he would ever leave. So it's taken something really powerful, for lack of a better word, to push him out. And I think it just really sums up the state of college sports, what it's become.
All right, our last minute, you bring up the two super conference model once again. Please explain, sir.
It is a world where it is all about the SEC and the Big Ten and nobody else. And maybe they break away. No, not maybe. They will break away from the NCAA. Maybe the College Football Playoff is the governing body. And then each conference would suck up some other schools from other leagues. Like, for instance, maybe just arbitrary example, Oklahoma State joins the SEC and Colorado joins the Big Ten, and they become 20-team super conferences. And everything's about that. That was a pretty good summation.
That was good. That was excellent. Excellent, sir. I got to look. I
use the word summation.
I got to look that up real quick to see what the hell that means, because that was pretty impressive. All right, before I let you go, what kind of burger did you get?
I just got cheeseburgers with tomato, lettuce, and mustard, and they got the good fries, like the fries with the ridges, you know.
Oh,
like
old school. Yes,
yeah,
like the Oritas.
So and these are big burgers, so I'm going to slam these down. I got a 9:30 flight to Austin tonight, and then Texas and Clemson tomorrow.
All right, real quick, who wins, Texas or Clemson?
I'm not touching that one just now.
Well, how about this one? Tonight. How about tonight? Notre Dame and Indiana. You don't cover either team.
You know what? I took the over in that game.
You took the over?
I took the over in that game.
Really? What's the over under?
51.
Yeah, that's doable. Possibly, that's doable.
51, and I would, and I don't give betting advice, but if I were to give betting advice, I would take Clemson to cover the 12-point spread I saw right now.
I do agree with that. And by the way, you are more and more showing us the degenerate side of you, Scott Hamilton, which we really appreciate.
Burgers and betting, baby.
That's right, baby. That's your new podcast. Hey, you have. I don't know if we'll be talking next week. So if not, you have a good holiday, my friend.
You too, brother. We'll see you later.
All right, we'll talk to you. Scott Hamilton, Post and Courier. You can read his stuff. You go to Post and Courier to the sports section. Very interesting read about Dave Clawson and the future of schools like Wake, the future of Wake, and the bigger picture in college football. All right, it's December 20th. It's the greatest day in the history of the world. We'll knock that down next here on the Halftime Show with Terry Fort on the game. Okay, you want to do things to the home. It's time now. Maybe you want to do it for the holidays, or maybe it's a New Year's resolution. Maybe you want all new appliances or a nice new tub, maybe new lighting, new fixtures, new plumbing. The place to go is the Nest. It's right there on Gadsden in the Vista. You call 803-978-2025. You get the expert you need for whatever you're looking to do, because they have experts for every department. It's not one person does everything. Experts for each department. You get a hold of that expert. You tell them about what you want to do, your goals, your vision, your budget. You come on in, look at the beautiful showroom, which, by the way, you'll be way impressed. And they set you up for what you want to do within your budget. Again, 803-978-2025. Make that call. Go to visit the Nest, 1331 Gadsden in the Vista. Have your dreams come true for your home and have it done in your budget at the Nest. Time to check out December 20th, greatest day in the history of the world. Here on the halftime show. We go till 3, then Elijah Campbell jumps in here with the post-game show. All right, on this day, we always like to go old school, obviously, for our first one. On this day in 1921, Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis decides to return the World Series to a best of 7 from the best of 9 format. Landis cast the deciding vote. The American League voted to return to best of 7. National League wanted to stay in the best of 9. Landis said, I'll make the vote. We go back to best of 7, which it still is today. Believe it or not, it was a best of 9 between 1903 and 1919 through 21. Best of 9. So the best of 7 returned in 1921. Kennesaw Mountain Landis, pretty interesting dude. Now, he was the guy, again, he's famous for cleaning up baseball. There was a lot of, bad stuff going on. Remember the Black Sox scandal of 1919 where the White Sox were paid by gamblers to throw the World Series? A lot of those players got banned for life, including shoeless Joe Jackson and Buck Weaver. Landis had full power to act over the sport's best interest, and he did. A lot of people give him the thumbs up for cleaning up baseball. But also he was looked at negatively for, in some people's view, delaying racial integration in the game. But Landis, I mean, he was as a judge, because he was a real judge. He got national attention back in 1907 when he fined Standard Oil of Indiana more than $29 million for violating federal laws. They said he was a judge that was going to rein in big business. So he was a high-profile dude. And look at the picture on Wikipedia. It looks like a judge. My man looks like a judge. Looks like he had this sense of humor of a rock. Kennesaw Mountain Landis putting the World Series back to a best-of-7 format on this day in 1921. 1966, the NBA grants a franchise to the city of Seattle, expanding the NBA to 11 teams for the 67-68 season. Of course, years later, screwed Seattle out of their NBA team and let it move to Oklahoma City. All that was over an arena because the folks in Seattle were slow to get things going for a new arena, and the voting wasn't going in favor of all the different arena ideas. So the NBA said, hey, screw you. We'll go to Oklahoma City. They'll build us 5 arenas. But the city of Seattle deserves an NBA team. 1980, I remember being a little Terry Ford when this happened. The NBA, jeez, losing my mind. The network NBC experiments with the game between the Jets and the Dolphins by not having commentators for the broadcast. Jets won 24-17. If you weren't around for this, they just had like graphics and stats, and they had all this information on the bottom part of the screen to tell you what was going on in place of the announcers. It was hugely controversial at the time. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I was too young. I was just watching a game. They were running all this stuff across. It was just different. It was weird. I'll be honest with you. I was young. It was weird. Because, again, I grew up one of announcers, right? The play-by-play guy, the analyst, and there was nothing. I'm just sitting there reading the game. It's like watching one of those, like, foreign movies. And you got to read the bottom of the screen. The first time I ever actually did that was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And that movie was really cool, but it's the first time I ever sat there and actually, watched a movie with closed captioning or read a movie. It was good. Maybe the last time I did it, too. Anyway, so NBC on this day in 1980 had the announcerless game between the Jets and the Dolphins. Greatest day in the history of the world as we roll through it on December 20th here on the Halftime Show on the Game. 1998, Green Bay's Brett Favre becomes the first NFL player to throw for more than 30 touchdowns in 5 different seasons. Favre hit Antonio Freeman 3 times for scores in the first half. Packers beat Tennessee. Favre broke a tie with Dan Marino. What's interesting about Favre, he was one of those rare gunslingers who transitioned into an efficient gunslinger. Does that make any sense? He still had gunslinger in his game, and Favre is known for as much as the back-breaking interceptions he threw at the worst possible time in the playoffs as he is for the MVPs and winning that Super Bowl when Green Bay knocked out New England. But Favre, I mean, to be honest, yes, he made some throws. You go, what are you doing, dude? Oh, I'm a gunslinger, baby. But he also became much more efficient than he was earlier in his career, and a lot of that was Mike Holmgren, being able to chill him out and settle him down. and also Steve Mariucci and some other coaches on that staff. On this day in 2005, Kobe Bryant scored a career high, at that time, 62 points. Lakers beat Dallas 112-90. Kobe scored a franchise record 30 points in the third quarter of that game. Scored 62, and he sat out the fourth quarter. Because Kobe alone outscored the Mavericks after three quarters, 62-61. 2009, Ben Roethlisberger completes 29 of 46 passes for 3 TDs and 503 yards. Became the first Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback to throw for 500 yards in a game during a 37-36 win over Green Bay. 2014, number 1 Kentucky scores the game's first 24 points and blows out UCLA 83-44. Wildcats led, you ready for this? 41-7 at halftime. Lowest point total and a half for UCLA and the fewest by a Kentucky opponent since 1943. You know, they use peach baskets and stuff. Craziness. And in 2017, Fletcher McGee, you're like, who? Fletcher McGee scored 27 points to help Wofford stun number 5 North Carolina 79-75. The Tar Heels were the reigning national champions. They had a 23-game home winning streak, and it was snapped by Wofford on this day in 2017. That's the greatest day in the history of the world. Okay, here's what we're going to do. 803-404-6100. Got to give me a minute because I'm doing all this stuff by myself today. We're going to take callers number 4, 5, 6, and 7. At 803-404-6100. Again, callers number 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 pair of tickets for the men, their basketball game on Sunday against Radford. Callers 4, 5, 6, and 7, 803-404-6100. Give us a ring, and we're going to give you a pair of tickets to go check it out this weekend. Again, callers number 4, 5, 6, 7. Hit us up as we're giving away some tickets for this weekend for men's basketball right here on the halftime show. On the game, we'll come back. We'll do our handoff with our buddy Elijah Campbell from the postgame show, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine. And we'll get our Firehouse Subtext the hour, 803-404-6100, and we'll read some more tributes to our good buddy Gamecock Larry. That's coming up as we wrap up the halftime show right here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. All righty. At four winners of tickets to go to Sunday's game against Radford, and Elijah Campbell will have 5 more in the next 3 hours.
Oh, boy.
Uh-huh. Have fun with that. 5 more pair.
I love giving away tickets. It's my favorite thing to do.
Absolutely. So that's coming up in the next 3 hours on the postgame show. What are you doing on this show, by the way?
Oh, man, what aren't we doing? Joe Rexroad from The Athletic is going to be on the phone with me for a segment while he's on his way to South Bend, Indiana, while he's driving through snow.
Yeah, I hear it's got a little snow going in
So he'll be
South
covering
Bend.
that. And Jordan Kay is going to join me at 4:30 to talk about the Citrus Bowl, Mike Shula, all the stuff around Gamecock football. And then I want to take a pretty good deep dive into these playoff games. And I have a theory we're going to get a game either tonight or tomorrow or maybe next week that is going to prove the necessity of a 12-team playoff.
Really?
Kind of what we did in 2015.
Look at you. I'll be honest, out of all these games, see, Tennessee, Ohio State, it's an 8-9 game. I know it's in Columbus. See, if Tennessee wins, I'm not going, wow, what an upset.
No.
I don't think Ohio State is head and shoulders better. Put away the $20 million in the NIL and all that other stuff Ohio State has spent. I don't think Ohio State is wow better than Tennessee.
Well, especially when the offensive line is as banged up as it is. When you're on left tackle number 3,
right?
You're starting centers out for the year, and you play a team with a future NFL edge rusher and a group of interior defensive linemen who are as good as it gets in college football. I mean,
some athletic linebackers.
The offense looks sexy when you watch it because it's all spaced out. They love to throw the ball. They run incredibly efficiently. They have a running back in Dylan Sampson who only sees a loaded box 1/4 of the time because they space you out so much. So he always has an advantage with blockers. The offense gets a lot of the publicity, but that offense is average. I mean, it's a slightly above average offense in college football, but the defense has been spectacular, and that's what's won them a majority of their games this season is how well they played defensively. I mean, shoot, Terry, they went 3 or 4 games this year without scoring in the first half and won 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and it's not talked about enough, because I think one of the things is which quarterback makes plays in the fourth quarter, because both guys, Will Howard has struggled in the fourth quarter of games at Ohio State, and Nico has struggled in the first, second, third, and fourth quarters, but he's not turning the rock over. I think what is not talked about enough is the way Tennessee runs their offense with wide receivers all lined up near the sidelines that makes the box lighter, that makes them run so well. Ohio State's never faced that.
Nope.
How are you going to, I don't care how much talent you have on defense, when you're spread that thin in the box, and Ohio State's secondary isn't great, when you spread them thin in the box and force them to go hat on hat, so to speak, and sometimes you're even getting outnumbered at times, I think Sampson, if Tennessee wins, Sampson goes crazy.
Oh, he's going to run the ball 30-plus times.
And that's the formula. And look, it's not going to surprise me if Ohio State loses. A lot of Vol fans are going to be in Columbus, by the way.
Oh,
you've seen that, right?
They have dominated the secondary ticket market.
It's hilarious,
there was a link that was supposed to be just for Ohio State fans and alum to be able to access these secondary market tickets, and apparently that got leaked.
Stunning.
And now that it got leaked, Tennessee fans were all in on eating those tickets up and buying out a lot of space.
It's going to be interesting.
There are going to be a lot of Vol fans there.
Firehouse Sub Text Hour 803-404-6100. James Franklin is great at 3 things: being overrated, losing big games, and acting like his schedule is more than it is. That comes when we played the James Franklin cut earlier, where he was kind of whining about his home field advantage, which I thought was hilarious. Basically, I want to make an excuse for if I do get beat, I've got an excuse. Look, I think Ohio State wins. I think Penn State wins. But I'm going to tell you, screw around with SMU, and you're going to walk out of there a loser. They got a ton of talent. If SMU can stop turning the bleeping ball over, they're dangerous. I mean, they turned the ball over against Clemson and almost stole that game.
Yep.
Don't mess with them. And if you're a Penn State and you make this a fourth quarter game, you got issues. Just saying.
Oh, there's going to be a lemon butt factor in the fourth quarter of that game. If it's a one-score game or they're, heaven forbid, they're down going into the fourth quarter of that game, you think that energy over at Beaver Stadium is going to be friendly?
Oh, no. It's not going to be pretty.
No.
Not going to be pretty.
Not at all.
No. One other thing I want to bring up with you real quick is I think it's very interesting. College football is flexing. and playing these games on a Saturday when the NFL typically takes over. And the NFL ain't messing around either. You got Patrick Mahomes, and you got the best rivalry in the NFL with Steelers-Ravens. There's no screw. NFL's like, oh, you want to puff your chest? Forgot who you are, and you forgot who we are. I can't wait to see the ratings on Monday, how the Saturday plays out, man.
I don't understand. Like, I saw the Tony Kornheiser clip yesterday. I don't understand how some people think this is spitting in the eye of the NFL. Like, what day of the week, Terry, does college football play games?
It plays Saturday. And I think that's what they're saying, right?
Does Roger Goodell say, like, oh, you're not putting your game on a Wednesday? The NFL infiltrated Thursdays.
But see, it's different. But remember, you got to remember something. It's different when the bully comes into your neighborhood. You're not supposed to go in the neighborhood's bully, right? The NFL is slowly taking over. The NFL basically stuck the middle finger to the NBA and said, "Oh, you think you own Christmas? Excuse me, hold my beer," right?
I mean, you know this. You know the number one rule of flipping somebody off: don't flip somebody off if you can't handle getting flipped off back.
Right. And
so if you're the NFL, I mean, why are you nudging people like Tony Kornheiser to fight your battles for you?
Because my thought process would have been load up Friday night. Yeah. If I'm college football, load up today, and not fight this fight with the NFL today on Saturday. But college football basically said, I guess what you said. Look, we play on Saturday. That's what we do. So we're going to play on Saturday. So it's going to be fun to watch it because the winner is us. Because I'm going to have carpal tunnel from flipping back and forth to
You're gonna be watching
all these games.
All day, yeah,
it's going to be beautiful.
If you have the YouTube TV quad box feature, like tomorrow's the best day to.
No, tomorrow's ridiculous. Tomorrow will be ridiculous. Really quick, couple of more tributes to Gamecock Larry, a legend. May the good Lord rest his Gamecock soul for Mike. And also yesterday morning. Heard you last, where you will very much be missed. The mornings will never be the same without you. Rest in peace. Post-game show is next with Elijah and a bunch of people on the game.